measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and vegs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'd like to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Barely, JMels24, Elemento, Iron 26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. But with that, I'll hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Been a pleasure listening to you these past few days, Nathan. Super cathartic and very good shows.
Really? Okay. Thank you very much. I'm trying to remember what I've done on the last couple of shows.
Same as we did the other shows.
No, I just appreciate this perspective you have on the Globers and kind of putting them in their place the proper way. And it's, not even bringing them to the table for a discussion and just kind of laying the smack down, as they used to say.
Okay. Cool. Everyone happy if I go live half an hour early? As we've got an opportunity to do so, given that the states are up early, having had their time to go forward.
Let's go. How are you?
Good morning, Nathan.
All right. I'm hoping to get a bit more of the book done, and my wife's literally on her way out with the kids to a group. I thought you were going for half one. Oh, they were hungry. Well, in any event, I've started the live show about about half an hour early, so we can get it done half an hour early, which means I can then start editing books, which is fun, as we're on chapter 11 of 12 main chapters. Is that correct?
Yeah.
There's 1.5 more main chapters to be edited, plus 3 anecdotal ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you overheard that little conversation with my wife. Yeah, there's a half chapter completely unedited and a full chapter completely unedited of housekeeping question style chapters, which is to say that they are more densely packed with information. And other than that, the 10 and a half chapters that we've done thus far, we're on chapter 11 and halfway through it as of yesterday evening, are all done. They need to be double checked. But as of probably next week, we'll have finished. That'll be it. Then it'll get double checked. Then it'll get sent off to the publisher. Then it'll be a book. Then it'll be available almost immediately after that for digital download. And then based on feedback from initial purchasers, which are hopefully people who are friendly enough to not chastise me if there is any spelling errors, any minor amendments can be made on the fly to the digital copy. And then in time, it will become a real book that's physically available to hold in your hand or get signed for Skeptic 936, Neil. As you've not mentioned it at least once that someone wants you to sign a copy.
Did I tell you that he wants me to sign a copy?
Only about 100 times. That's all good. I've made a couple of videos. So as of end of January, I stopped purchasing microphones. And for the whole of last month, having not purchased any, I've cleared out the majority of them. Now there's a little over 20 microphones left listed on eBay. So if you did happen to want to buy a mic that had gone through my hands, a second-hand mic, then feel free. I mean, there are a couple left, as I say, on eBay still. But as of probably yesterday, I'm going to say that's the end of an era in that regard. So that was designed to be a temporary measure, which I'm sure everybody's aware of having, if you're a regular of the show at least. That was a temporary measure to mitigate for me needing to earn a bit of extra money whilst writing the book. Well, that I thought would take a couple of months, ended up being a full year. But it means that I've got an entire mic locker full of mics of my own and made a small profit over the 12 months, maybe £100 or a couple of £100 per month to subsidise myself, if you will. So I haven't had to do any GoFundMes. Now, there was a chance that I had to do one right at the end there, as this iPad has broken. The charging port for it doesn't work. And so I have set up, but not actually released a GoFundMe, and I'm hoping I won't need to. That is to say, the book will go on sale and that will start generating a profit, and then anything that goes wrong, hopefully I can pay for with money that comes from book sales rather than GoFundMe campaigns, which I have typically done in years gone by, being a smaller YouTuber. Obviously, at any given time, given my growth's gone steadily upwards, I'm typically always at a peak. Now, given that that's the case, I am taking a slight dip as I jettison some old wood people who I'd prefer not to be in the company of. Now, if you're wondering if that's you, ask yourself this question. Are you pleasant to be around? If the answer is yes, then no, I'm not talking about you. If the answer is no, and you're probably a deeply unpleasant person, it doesn't get categorised into flat earthers or anti-flat earthers or globers or anti-globers, just people. If you are unpleasant, there's a chance that I'd rather you buggered off and would rather lose you as a sub at the moment. And at any given time when you're going into a transitional period, you can sustain a small dip in, I don't know, subscriber base, with people moaning at you going, I don't like your current rhetoric as you describe how Earth is measured flat, therefore it isn't that serious. I, Gamma, was going to change the world. How dare you say I've got no influence over it and that it would be measured flat regardless if I was run over by a bus tomorrow. I am the secret king. Now, those people can bugger off because they're generally unpleasant to be around. And I'd rather jettison them at this point as we go into a transitional period where I'll start promoting said book on other people's channels. Now, up until now, I've had no justifiable reason to go out there other than be people's whipping boy on other people's channels so that they can earn a crust from me being there. Well, obviously, if I'm going to negotiate them being a, what's the word? I can't remember the word now. Affiliate, that's the one. For my book, that is to say they'd have a link to my book if I'm on their show. That would be the negotiation process to get me on there. Then obviously, even if they are unfriendly, there's a certain financial incentive for me to be there if they're publicising a link, which they also will make money as an affiliate from. But that will mean that I've got a good reason to go out on the circuit. In the same way David Weiss went out to promote his app, I'll be out there promoting my book. So from that perspective, there's going to be new people who come to the channel. And at this point, the troublemakers, the pains in the arses, the general obnoxious people that we deal with, I'd rather did bugger off. You know, and if it is the case that the people in the pond we currently find ourselves in are on the anti-flat side, well, then so be it. You know, those people are more than welcome to keep their ball that's based on flat earth measurements. Just keep away from us while you delude yourselves that you're not using the prerequisite flat earth measurements. You are. And I don't want to hear about how you're not because of blah, 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 excuses, or blah, 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 blah. Yes, just use the flat local measurements anyway. Don't worry about it. It doesn't mean it's flat when we're measuring it flat. It's only local. You know, all of those people, bugger off. You know, we've had our time with you for 10 or 12 years in my case, and we don't need you anymore. It is just that simple. Now, if that means that you see it as me being a bad businessman because I'm jettisoning people who are generally irritating to be around and you wouldn't want to share a beer with, then, you know, so be it. Those people will be annoyed at this particular juncture, when we're about to transition into a period where new people will definitely be coming to the channel from moving forward with a book to flog and a reason to go out and promote myself, my book, my channels, plural. Well, I've got 4, but the 2 main ones. So yeah, so it's times that are going to be changing. It's going to be an interesting time here on Flat Earth Debate. Good stuff. Can't wait.
Yeah, everybody that's leaving, the first show you're on promoting your book and a baller pops in out of nowhere as a guest also, and you cough him up, he'll be subscribed again.
Maybe. I mean, there are certain people that will want me to be doing that. But as I discussed last time, there is always the possibility that somebody who's willing to have me on their show put a link to my book below their video in the info box and spam it in their live chat if it's a live stream. Will also invite arsehole along to chastise me as a flat earther for being an idiot. Now, that is a possibility. On the other hand, you won't find that many, if any, really negative promos that I did when I was first branching into the subject as a YouTuber. Obviously, I was offered plenty of media interactions from various other flat earthers who weren't in the vicinity of that particular agency. Now, when I was offered them, I tried to communicate with those people, and if I wasn't particularly successful with someone who wants to interview me, then I wouldn't do the interview. And the same is applied here. People who've been sending me, I got one today, I can't remember who it was to thank, but somebody sent me another name of a YouTuber that they obviously thought about me being on their show, provided me with their contact information, and I've added them to the list, which is now a substantial list. And not all of them will say yes. There'll be a percentage that will say yes and have me on and have my link. But in that process, there's going to be somebody who goes, I know I can have this guy who I fear because he's talking about something that's very alien to me, that's Earth being measured flat, and go, I can bring in name random dickhead who we've already faced a million times and oppose you with him. You know, the last example was on Godfrey's channel, where that guy that I keep saying looks like Cat Williams, I can't remember his name, Jamal or something similar, went up against Dave and got called Sweetheart. Like, again, back to these are the unpleasant people you wouldn't want to have a beer with. Well, yeah, that'll be a possibility, but more likely not than the case, based on how well I can suss out some of these people who do agree to have me on and then suddenly don't want to talk to me at all after saying that they'll have me on their shows. Like, okay, well, if you don't want to communicate with me, no worries, I just won't come on, because I know what you'll do. You'll line up some dickhead, because that is, chances are, what people will want to do in some instances. Not all. I think a lot of people will just be curious as normies what I've got to say. And those people will be just as open as they have been when you watch, I don't know, Dave on some random show where he hasn't got some dickhead lined up to chastise him at the behest of some host that doesn't want to talk because he hasn't educated himself in Dave or my, in this instance, subject matter, which is flat Earth. So we'll see. But you're saying if that does happen, in the very rare occasion that I misjudge whoever it is that's having me on, then the people will come back to me and subscribe. You're like, you're describing something called fair weather friendship, Neil. Is that what you're driving at?
Yes, sir.
That's not fair weather. I'm glad you agreed, because I don't see that as fair weather. If somebody's there to have me, as I metaphorically described, as the lion being whipped by the circus master just because they like seeing the circus master get eaten by a lion, then that isn't somebody who's a friend. You know, there's somebody that wants to watch a lion, me by metaphor, get whipped. Now, yes, I can bite the lion tamer's head off and run around the audience eating people who boo, but that's no fun for me. So if those people are deserting me and then coming back as fair weather subscribers, I mean, so be it. I'm not going to moan. It's obviously going to help the numbers, but those aren't the people you want to really be around in general, are they? Those aren't pleasant people. They're never friends.
No, but it's everybody's selfish, Nathan. Everybody's got a little selfishness in them, and they just want to see you cough up ballers. That's what you get most of your praise on your shows. You finish with a worldwide debate, and everybody goes crazy. Oh, this is the best Nathan's been in a while. Glad he's back. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, I get that, and most of the time it's done because I want to build up the numbers. I'm struggling to pay a bill or whatever, and I want to build up my subscriber base to build up the ad revenue base. Be a YouTuber, in other words. But by the same token, as much as I do want to pay the bills, I'm not. I've never been one to sacrifice my integrity for it. I'll wear it on my sleeve when I'm e-begging. I'll wear it on my sleeve that I do want more subscribers. I'll wear it on my sleeve that I need the money by having the subscriber base increase and the ad revenue decreasing is costing me. I'll moan about it. Not that normally works to your disadvantage anyway. Like, that actually puts people off supporting you. If you're doing great, you're more likely to get support because people like success. I get that. But by the same token, I'd rather just be brutally honest with people, because I can't say, oh, we're heavily censored, it's such a struggle, but I'm doing really well. Because people would be like, well, why are you moaning about your alleged censorship if you're doing really well? That's kind of a contradiction. It's like, well, I've got to just be honest about how I'm doing as a YouTuber. Now, on the one hand, I'm absolutely elated. There's so few people that get to do what I do. They get to sit on a YouTube channel and pay their bills at all with their YouTube revenue. Now, there's no way that the 27 current viewers on my live stream, although I am half an hour early, which is uncharacteristic, but the general, 500 to 1,000 views that each live stream gets daily, that just doesn't even come close in terms of revenue to paying the bills. What does pay the bills are individuals. I mean, at the moment, I'm going to do a little Patreon drive. What I'd really like is people to join me on Patreon. At the moment, everything I get through all the other means, which come to me via PayPal, I give to my wife so she can help me edit by not chewing up her time with overtime to her, normie employer. So I give her my PayPal. She helps me edit the book, which is soon going to be editing, and then she'll be hopefully carrying on that process by contacting these lists of people that people have supplied me with some contact information for them to get me on their shows. But that means that in general I'm struggling, and the only way to alleviate that is to have a different source of money coming in the increased amount, which is Patreon. So I'm going to keep shouting it out probably for the next couple of weeks, rather than having a GoFundMe or a Give Send Go to try and buy a new iPad. I'll just encourage people to actually join on Patreon, which is what Eric Debay did. I'm sure I mentioned this yesterday, and successfully. I mean, he collared me in as a new Patreon, so I can only assume he had a reasonably successful campaign in that regard. And for me, a campaign isn't just the one video that gets put out and lasts for a month like it does with Eric Debay. When I'm doing daily shows, you'll just hear me appealing to you each day to become a Patreon, because that is sincerely what's kept me going all these years. Mostly people who are on Patreon, who are the same people who give me money via PayPal anyway, and will support the GoFundMes that I've done, and there's been numerous ones over the last 10, 12 years. As I've been smaller in size, I've needed to do more GoFundMes. Now, the mics have managed to keep me out of GoFundMes at a time that I don't want to be seen or criticised for being an e-beggar when the book comes out. In other words, buy my book because it's good, not buy my book because I'm desperately poor and I need you to support me financially and the money from the book will do that. That is not something people will get behind, because people don't care. They just want to know that it's a really good book. Now, I haven't had to e-beg to produce the content. I've done something else. I've mitigated for me not having a great deal of ad revenue. And there's only so far that so many subscribers with so many generous, financial backers can get you, in this particular small corner of a wood with less than 100,000 subscribers. So from that perspective, I am elated with where I currently am. I'm so over the moon that I've not had to e-beg, and that I'm about to come out with a book and go out on a tour with something that does genuinely, obviously, pay me to a certain extent. The book will generate a revenue stream. But moreover, it'll inject a bit of new life into the channel. So to be in that particular position is exceptional. I've had to work incredibly hard to be where I am, and I'm very proud of myself, as much as pride isn't necessarily a good thing to have, biblically speaking. But I am. I'm genuinely and sincerely proud of what I've achieved to be in this turning point in flat earth YouTubing career. This is a great place to be, and I'm very privileged and thankful to the people, especially the ones who've supported me financially. One of them's on the show right now. So Len has given me hundreds of pounds, and it is incredibly useful to actually be able to pay the bills with that money that he hands over. So, him and many, many, many others are the reason that I'm sat in this seat as privileged as I am. Not because I've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers and I'm earning my money from ad revenue and super chats. Obviously, I'm still very grateful for people who do watch my ads, enjoy my videos, and indeed give me super chats and whatever the other one's called, super thanks. I am obviously eternally grateful. I do still receive that as a revenue stream. It's just, as I say, not enough to pay the bills. But hopefully that will change as the channel continues to grow. I've never been as big as I am currently. This is my peak, and typically it always is the case that I'm always at a peak. And therefore, I've never been as big as this particular moment. And, having to not e-beg and promote a book and go out, it's a joyful and exciting prospect. Very, very exciting time. If you're a subscriber or a member of Nathan Oakley 1980, you can probably feel it, that something exciting's about to begin. So, as I say, the main point of starting this was the Deadwood. Get lost. You know what I mean? We can do without you. We can suffer the losses. It's okay. And whether or not they come back is irrelevant, as Neil's saying that there's going to be fair weather subscribers. Maybe, maybe not. But there will definitely be new people who are coming by in the near future, that we've never heard of us, what we do and how we do it. And they'll come along and go, what about boats going over the horizon? All that shit will start again. Mark my words. I say it with a smile because it means that there will be new people coming to the subject that are getting told your average standard fare Nathan Oakley 1980 rhetoric. It's not that serious. It's just measured flat, and you're not going to have any influence over it. So if you don't like that, don't worry about it. Just go and be on your ball. It doesn't matter. On your ball, off your ball. You're not going to change the world. Don't worry about it. You'll still have to pay your mortgage tomorrow. But your ball was measured using flat earth elevation angles like these, designed to suggest sphericity with flat earth shadows and angles. You hang around long enough, you'll learn how your ball came from flat earth measurements, like are constantly going by on the slideshow. But if you want to go, no ball, you're like, yeah, fine, stay on your ball that was created with flat earth measurements. We don't care if you're converted, because it doesn't matter if you're converted. Earth's measured flat regardless of if you are on a ball or if you come off your ball and go, wow, I know the secret super information of flat Earth. Yeah, you do, don't you? They were already in flight level. Sea level had already been measured, and every bit of topographical measurement that could have ever been made in reference to that horizontal plane was already in effect and being used on the flat scales of flat maps that we use with flat directions. So it didn't really matter that you're off your ball and realise that you'd been lied to in your school. It doesn't matter. Unless you're going to go out and create a new system of time or a new system of travel or a new system of measuring the stars with angles off a plane, which is how they've already been measured. Unless you're going to do any of those things, knowing that it's flat doesn't really matter. But if you like the idea of that message reaching more people, then great, support me, join me on Patreon. And my simplistic way of putting that message is as simple as it can be. Earth was, is, and always will be measured flat for everything that involves Earth measurement. That includes, but is not limited to, ball faith. So there you go, now you know. That's my bit done for this live show. I've done my duty and due diligence of letting people know Earth is measured flat in all circumstances, by everyone, and without exception. You all excited in the Discord server? Can you smell the turning point in the air for Nathan Oakley 1980 YouTube channel and indeed Flat Earth debate? Tumbleweeds from Discord. Shocking. Yes. Oh, well, thank you for the token. Yes, Zark. Very much obliged. Can we try that again? Now they've had prep. Are you all excited? Can you sense it in the air that there's a bit of a turning point on the horizon? Mixed metaphors.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was just, I was kind of laughing. Yeah, I'm all excited, Nathan.
You sound very excited, Steve. You can barely contain yourself. No, but in sincerity to the audience, I'm genuinely excited about what's to come. So over this year, 2026, there's going to be stuff happening, which is exciting. You know, if nothing else, there's a book going to be available, which I'll obviously plug, no doubt, on every single live show moving forward. It won't just be me asking you to become a patron if you haven't done so already. It'll be moreover me saying, well, there's also a book that's actually going to offer a physical amount of value that beyond a few bits of merch that I've had in years gone by, there isn't anything that I've been able to offer an audience member in that regard. Now I can say, this is something that you can buy that gives you something back that you can own, as opposed to me just going, I need money, I need to keep the show going, please support me, which is essentially what you get if you go to Patreon. You know, the various different levels that you have of patronage, they all basically say the same thing. You get nothing, but I get to pay the bills. You get absolutely nothing, but I do get to go out for a beer occasionally. Wishful thinking when I was making the Patreon. You know, you essentially get nothing, but I get to keep the lights on. You know, those are the kind of tiers that I have, because I don't have anything to offer beyond what I'm doing now, and people who want to support that. I mean, occasionally I'll put a video up that's exclusive to Patreon, but it's normally another form of e-begging. So, you know, take it or leave it. That's what I would ask for in the meantime to keep me going, and hopefully I'll garner a bit more support from Patreon. But beyond that, there's going to be, like I say, something physical that you can have, hopefully, in the not-too-distant future. At the very least, something electronic that you can read that will take a couple of days to churn your way through. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. That'll be great when the book comes out, and that'll be a new path for you, for sure. It'll be great.
I just hope I've done a good job. Neil's assuring me that I've done a good job. He's been, my wife was pointing this out, every single editing session for the book, without exception, has had Neil there. There's no other person I can say that about. But he's been there throughout the entire process. The only bit he wasn't there for was when I initially dictated the original idea that got padded out by my publicist with a bit of help from AI, no doubt. That was sort of the very first base skeleton. Neil wasn't there for that. But other than that, from there on in, Neil's been there for every single step of the way. My current concern being that I'm not interjecting enough of the current rhetoric, you know, how nonchalant the subject matter is to me personally, given that we aren't actually that influential on Earth and how it's measured. Like with any truth, it doesn't actually need any defense counsel. It's going to be flat whether or not we're shouting it from the hilltops, converting the millions, or back on a ball. You know, it wouldn't matter in terms of how Earth was measured flat back before we were born, after we are all dead, and currently as we're all talking about it, without any consequence from us talking about it. You know, that kind of rhetoric, I'm hoping, has been interwoven enough in the book, which has taken a couple of years to actually write, maybe longer, because it was based on the notion of there being a debate and there being housekeeping questions around the debate, questions that keep getting rinsed and repeated, obviously in the ongoing debate that we would suggest that doesn't exist anymore. At least for us, it does in the mind's eye of those who feel that a consensus for the globe needs a parallel consensus for a flat Earth, when our current rhetoric is Earth being measured flat, which it absolutely is, will be measured flat whether we're talking about it, arguing about it, being told that we should jump off buildings or not. So I hope I've interwoven that with the chapters that were a pre-existing housekeeping-based chapter format, because I want people to understand that it isn't that serious. Knowing that it's flat doesn't really change how you'll have to go about your day, but recognising that it's flat and measured as such regardless of your belief in a ball, and your ball belief came from those measurements. I hope I've incorporated all of that information into All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth by Nathan Oakley.
Now you got me thinking, because I thought you were talking about, are you saying that the prerequisite flat Earth measurements, are you putting that in there enough? Now I'm thinking, have you been putting it in there enough that it doesn't mean a damn thing? I don't know. Just put it in more.
Yeah, sorry, changing microphones. Yes, I mean, I have definitely put it in. You know, you're praising me when you hear it, Neil. But by the same token, it's just, is it enough? You know, at the end of reading it, will you go, okay, my conclusion after reading this book is that Earth's measured flat in all instances of measurement. The globe I formerly believed in was based on those flat Earth measurements. And now that I know this fact, I actually don't have a great deal to do with the fact it's measured flat and always will be anyway. You know, me being on a ball or not doesn't really matter to the measurements, which haven't ever changed. They were always flat anyway. So I hope that is the overarching message that the book communicates to people. But you just can't be sure until you've, put it in print and got people's opinion on it. If people get it and go, no, I got the impression that, this gave me all the tools I needed to argue with my neighbour over the fence on his lawnmower because he keeps calling me a flatty and I don't like it. I want to put him in his place.
So what? It covers both angles. I guess you'll find out when you go through, after you're done totally editing it and you read through it again, you'll know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it might be the case that we go through it again and it's hinted at and it's subtle, and therefore, maybe there's an opportunity to write another book based on another 5 years of rhetoric 5 years from now. And once that's been cemented, because it's a relatively new concept, like out of the 10 or 12 years I've been doing it, it's only the last 18 months, 2 years, that we've genuinely and sincerely been talking about how flat Earth is measured. And you've only got to go back to the Omi TV videos from a year ago, or a year plus. That's what I was doing before microphones, right? In this particular period, through the spring, I was making the videos on Omi TV, telling people about their ball Earth religion and how they've been indoctrinated into a religious belief. You're like, well, that is the last transition out of I am relinquishing my former ball faith and explaining to next man, random stranger, how he has a ball faith. And at the later stage of those Omi videos, I'm talking about how flat Earth gets measured. You can hear the very early stages of me putting that out as a rhetoric in the Omi videos. So you go, well, if that's only a year ago, or a year to 2 years ago, that's really when this has started to be a main rhetoric of the show. Well, that transition is not the majority of what's been used to produce the material in my first book. So there might be a second book that comes along afterwards. If the first one does well, maybe I'll write another one. But in the meantime, I've got an evergreen channel with an evergreen subject that's still, for a lot of people on the anti-flat Earth side, I must admit, a nice little earner for them on YouTube. There's plenty of people in the flat Earth subject, as much as they're formerly perceived as our opponents. I think that will waver or wane or whatever the word is as well. Like, we will see people like, I don't know, Simon Dan, she's always the go-to example, as less of our opponents. You know what I mean? It won't just be with a YouTube hat on that we're going, more power to you, I hope you're successful, because I'm in the same subject as you and it means I can be too. It'll be more, he's doing well. So obviously there's plenty of meat on the bone of flat Earth if Simon Dan's still eking out a living constantly talking about it, because so will I be. You know what I mean?
Last week, Refracted posted like a 6-minute video about surveying, and we never did it. I reposted it again, and I think you might like it.
Okay, do you want to do it tomorrow?
Okay, that means we're never going to do it. No problem. We were supposed to do it tomorrow, which was Monday, but I guess we forgot yesterday. So today's Tuesday, so I'll remind you again tomorrow.
That sounds like a good plan. Shout out to good luck, so excited for the book. This is Duncan, by the way. Well, thank you very much for the super chat, Duncan. Really appreciate the support. I'm even going to give it a little heart. Thank you so much for your generosity. I do appreciate it. Doesn't... Go ahead.
It just seems that I haven't really heard much from the Simon Dans and other people like that. And I occasionally hear from McToon on Facebook once in a while. And all I have to do is just say something like, how was that angle measurement to the sun, the altitude and azimuth to the sun in Antarctica going for you? Or ask about it. And he's gone. And That's all people need to know, is just what the actual measurement is that you're taking to measure the earth flat, elevation angle, or miles. And it takes the wind out of the sails.
Yeah, I fundamentally disagree. While I want you to bring this up so that I can disagree with you, that is to say, I'm not arguing with you so that you feel like I'm putting you down or making you feel bad, or, you know, Neil will explain later if you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm glad you've brought it up, but I fundamentally disagree with you. That is to say, they don't need to know how flat Earth gets measured because they aren't in charge of anything that has a responsibility level attached to them measuring Earth. So when you say it takes the wind out of their sails, you're talking in a combative manner that I, as time progresses, want to move away from, right? I don't wish any ill will on our formerly perceived as opponents, right? Now, I will point out how flat Earth gets measured for heliocentric believers to have a ball to believe in, but not for the purpose of knocking the wind out of the sails of next man. That's kind of...
No.
Go on.
No, not McToon.
Yeah.
McToon is not next man. McToon has wished the worst, that he wishes that everything just falls apart in your life and goes to shambles. So this guy is not like a guy that wears a YouTube hat, like say Simon Dan or Professor Dave or whatever. This guy's a piece of shit, Nathan.
Well, normally those people are the type of people that have got a lot of pain in their life. Like, the kid at school that's the biggest bully is the one having the shit kicked out of him by his dad at home, isn't it? So McToon in that regard is probably in the highest degree of pain of all of them. Whereas someone like Simon Dan can casually say, well, okay, it's just locally measured flat. And that's cognitively enough for Dan for him to get on with his day and sleep that night, right? But for Toon, maybe it's because he's smarter than people like Dan and recognises the issue, the problem with measuring Earth flat when you believe you're on a ball, that it does cause him that pain and cause him to want to project that pain outwards onto his opponent by wishing someone like me pain. Well, it's a case of love thy enemy. You know, if I can wish him a better night's sleep, then I will. You know, rather than saying, well, then I should condemn you because you're condemning me and wish the worst possible things on me and my family. I do know that, but I pity the pain that he must be experiencing in order to find it necessary to project said pain in the way he does onto me. Now, I don't feel affected by it. You know, I've got nothing but love to offer people like Simon Dan with a YouTube hat on, and I don't see why that can't extend to the worst scummy type of person that's out there. You know, in this case, by your standard, not necessarily mine, McToon. I don't watch him, so I don't know if that is the case or isn't. I will trust that you are being sincere and honest about him and not misrepresenting him. But I just hear it and go, that's a lot of pain that he's projecting out. Now, the fact that it's onto me is kind of in there, or I've got very thick skin, you know, so I don't care. But by the same token, it's like, pity that person, love thy neighbour. And in this case, he's in the same pond as us. Yes, he's on the opposing side that makes the money from the show. But even with that being the case, him being handed everything he could ever want in terms of a built YouTube channel by conspiracy cats, he's had every privilege he could be possibly offered as a YouTuber, and he's not happy. That's pretty sad, you know. Obviously, he's not living in the moment and joyful about how he's been blessed with a completely sustained, built-up YouTube channel that's profitable and an audience that's willing to listen to him and presumably respect him to a degree. Instead, he's screaming out my name into the Antarctic snow about guns and, you know, by your most recent description, in a lot of pain about his cognitive processing of how flat Earth gets measured, to the point where he wants to condemn his enemy. It's like, that's sad. You know, pity him. That's my attitude.
Okay.
You're a Christian, Neil. You saying I should not love my neighbour?
Yeah, Jesus said pray for your enemies, right? I'll
there you
take you
go.
to Psalm 35. Go to Psalm 35 and listen to how David prayed for his enemies.
The problem is I don't see him as my enemy, right? He doesn't have anything to oppose me with anymore. What's he opposing me with? He went to Antarctica and measured Earth flat and said, because I measure Earth flat, Earth's a ball. I say you go to Antarctica and measure Earth flat because you do. So it's like refracted curvature says, you tell me what the point of contention is. If you can show me what the point of contention is, then I'll consider him an enemy. But what do we contest each other over? He measures Earth
He's
flat.
your enemy in life. He wishes ill on you. He's your enemy, not about the subject, because he knows Earth is flat. He's in a lot of pain, yeah. But to turn around and say, I can't wait, with him wringing his hands for everything to just fall apart in your life because you're a bad person. Have you met McToon? Have you ever shook his hand and had a conversation with him?
No,
Has he met your family? So how does he know that you are a horrible man and deserve what's coming to you?
But I'm not. I don't need a perceived by you to be enemy to affirm what I am. You know, in terms of my own confidence about what I am, it doesn't need affirming. Again, it's if everybody thought I was an evil person, the fact that I'm not is enough for me to be content. That is to say, I don't need to appeal to these people to justify how wrong they are about their perceptions that they create. Again, depending on what they say about me, I often hear it and go, like the kid that's constantly bullying people, he's probably having the shit kicked out of him, as in a bit of empathy. So you go, okay, what are you accusing me of again? Very telling. Often people will project their own sins onto other people. So by that standard, you go, okay, well, listen to the accusations and ask yourself, is the person making the accusations actually guilty of the crime? Because if it's me, I know what people accuse me of. They accuse me of abusing my kids to the point where they constantly report me to social services. So do you think social services have investigated? Yeah. What I got was a letter from the council praising us for our abilities to homeschool our kids and how well they're doing. That's what I got. When I published that, I had plenty of people from the home ed community get in touch and say, I've never had a letter from the council about how well I homeschool my two kids. And you go, well, we have. Meanwhile, there's people who don't like how flat Earth gets measured who report me as having constantly abused them. Well, I don't. That's the simple reality of it. Now, I don't need to convince them that they're wrong when I'm arguing with them about the nature of reality. Furthermore, in the most recent times, I don't need to argue with them. That's to say, okay, have your ball that's based on flat Earth measurements. I don't care if you want to believe in that. I'm not going to try and tell you that you're wrong anymore. Go in peace. What's that? You can't go in peace. Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? It doesn't matter that I say you can have your ball. That's not good enough. Why not? Very telling also. Now me, am I happy with my life? Other than my complete lack of finance, that is to say, I'm constantly hitting overdrafts. I've never got enough money to replace a piece of electronics if it fails. Other than that, I do just about scrape by in life. And money isn't the highest of priority for me. Having two beautiful daughters that love me and want to spend time with me, that I get to spend time with as I watch them grow because we homeschool them, that is an absolute privilege and a joy. And something that is lacking in a lot of people's lives. They don't get to see their kids grow up. They don't get to watch them. They go, oh, it's gone so fast. I feel like I've missed out on them. I hear that all the time from people who have their kids in school. Well, I'm never going to feel like that. No regrets. One of mine's nearly 10 years old, and I don't feel like I've missed a single second of it. When we came back from art class today, and she was talking about flat Earth debate, because she's comprehending what I now do, she said, Daddy, would it be amusing if instead of the debate about flat Earth, you just had cows replace you all, and they all argued about how grass tasted better in one field over the other, and you could call it Moo Earth debate? And that's just her sense of humour. You know, that moment being shared on the way back from her art class that I've taken her to for the last 6 years is something that is shared, but people see me as having abused her and shit. You're like, what? No, you just don't like how flat Earth gets measured and you've got no rebuttal. I had the same thing. I put a community post up about it. David Banner used to come here and chat. So I'm like, okay, I like to support people who come to the show and see, if they're a YouTuber at least, what they've got to produce. So I go to his show. He makes me a mod so that I don't get timed out by all the ballers he's got there. And you go, okay, well, that seems reasonable. You've given me a spanner. What do you know? Last 2 shows I've been to him, I'm getting timed out as a mod. I'm like, I can't time my mods out. But somehow in David Banner's chat, I'm getting timed out as a mod. And then when I'm getting timed out, I'm like, what's going on here? You read up the chat and then you get accused of being a paedophile. Like, accused of crimes from the people in the chat who have presumably timed me out as a mod. You're like, what the hell? YouTube will tolerate moderators of YouTube channels being timed out by other moderators who are calling them or accusing them of being criminals. Criminals who abuse kids. That's what I get constantly accused of. Like, does it make any difference? Do my kids love me? Yeah. Do I love my kids? Yeah. Am I abusing them? No. But you're going to accuse me because I say Earth's measured flat? It wouldn't matter if I wasn't here. It'd still be flat. They'd still be measuring elevation angles to the stars. They'd still be measuring and utilising sea level for altitudes. Straight and level flight would still be parallel with sea level. And you feeling that you must appeal to me with your excuses. No, level defies an axiom. It's actually bent. No, we're moving to the centre of a gravity-based sphere based on a conception that's been out of date for 111 years. No, actually, we've got a time dimension that bends. You're like, okay, if that's good enough for you, have it. Thumbs up. What's that? You still need to report me to social services. That speaks volumes about you, not me. As much as you want to tarnish me socially. I don't care. I've been an outcast socially ever since I was a teenager. But in a good way. That is to say, there's a certain group of people, like the community around me who are currently giving me super chats and PayPals and hopefully increasing my patronage, that do absolutely like what I've got to say and want to support me in saying it. The fact that you would rather accuse me of being a child abuser only speaks to you and what you are. Because what you're saying about me simply isn't true. But what is it that you actually dislike when you've never met me or my kids? You dislike how flat Earth is measured. I'm not responsible for that. Now, when you are at peace with either your belief in a ball or with the measurements that build your ball, then you will have inner peace and you won't feel that you need to externalize that rage onto a random stranger you've never met. That's me. Now, me, I'll take it. No worries. I've dealt with it for 12 years. Water off a duck's back most of the time. Sometimes people push the line. Sometimes I'll use it to my own dramatic effect when I'm giving people a good old slap societally, so they remember what a beta dweeb or gamma cuck they really are and how they've found their way here to the chat skanking section that they spend their lives in. Because societally, they wouldn't get away with how they behave. Now, I can dramatise that when I've got a justifiable excuse because, like I've suffered for 12 years, someone decides to bring my wife, my kids, my family up when they've lost about how flat Earth is. Yeah, then I can dramatise it, put you back in your place, describe you as a dweeb, describe you as having your teeth kicked out, which in public, not me, any normal person who you brought up their kids and started accusing them of being a paedophile, that's a criminal, would want to kick your head in for it. That's just a fact. Now, the alphas in the world do and will slap you for it. I've got a few videos that I'll start replying with. A guy in a gym where he's got some little beta cuck stealing his hat and slap. Give me it back, you cheeky little twat. That's you. The hat is my time. You stealing it, yeah? Same goes for the security guard where he's being asked for a kiss. That's you demanding that I give you answers about a map I haven't created. That's you asking for a kiss. Bang! The security guard gives him one. Because that's what people in society do when little beta gamma dickheads piss them off. Unjustifiably. Asking them for homosexual favours when they've never spoken to them before. Demanding answers that they aren't entitled to. Suggesting that I'm responsible for things that I haven't created, that I've got no bearing on. Those demands would be met with pain in real life. There are plenty of examples of alpha males dishing it out to little beta cucks. So reminding the audience, the ones that want to see me in pain, like mental pain, like the pain of having your children taken away, that's the pain that they want to see me in, simply because they can't cope with their pain caused by flat Earth. That's all this boils down to. They can't cope. They don't have the ability to say, yes, water off a duck's back. Yes, I'm used to it. Yes, I've developed thick skin because of a lot of betas and gammas and dickheads that decide that they can't cope with their pain, so they're going to project it onto me. Well, I have dealt with it for 12 years. That's a sincere fact. And when you hold a mirror up to these people, they shit their pants when faced with their own disgraceful behaviour. Now, societally, I am moving forward, not going to appeal to them when they tell me, horizontal linear distance measurement bends. I'm not going to say, no, it does not. I'm going to say, go away, you are tedious, boring, and people don't like you. That's why you're here in the comments section. That's why you're hiding behind a fake name, hanging around with us, the cool kids, not saying anything, hoping that you'll be accepted so you can ask a question of us unjustifiably and then call us homos, like recently happened. Yeah, you want to be able to get away with being that big, strong man that calls the alpha, sat on the wall with the blonde next to him, a homo. You want to do that. I get it. But you wouldn't be tolerated doing it in society, and I will be reminding you of it, rather than arguing with you. The argument ended a couple of years ago. There isn't an argument anymore. That's it. So do you think I need to tell you, no, horizontal means horizontal? No, level does not mean curved? And I don't need to engage in those stupid discussions anymore. I don't need to explain to you how your pseudo-Riemannian bent fourth-dimensional space-time geometry is pseudo. The clue's in the title. If you can't figure it out after 12 years, I'm not going to assist you. Have your ball faith. That doesn't make me a shill. It means that I have complete apathy to these idiots who only wish me pain as a projection of their own. But as a psychoanalyst of these things, looking outwards in on a subject that I have an expertise in, it is more amusing to study you as a person, to realise how you're projecting out a very sincere pain. In this case, McToon's very sincere pain. And I pity him. But moving forward, we will analyse these things, study how they are projecting their pain, because that will inevitably not alleviate them of pain, but potentially offer them a level of self-reflection, introspection, that they've never had to experience when the only subject is the debate they perceive there to be about a flat Earth that's always measured that way. That's not going to happen anymore. We'll just look at you and go, I wonder why this person's accusing another man he's never met of child abuse. Could it be that McToon's a child abuser? Does he beat his own kids? Is that why he's constantly accusing me of it? Maybe people will start scratching their heads and asking themselves those questions. Meanwhile, I don't need any affirmation from you about how much I love my children and how much I like spending time with them. I'm not homeschooling them so I can abuse them. But people accuse me of it. Maybe it's projection. You just don't know. Maybe we should investigate. Look into why this person's making these false accusations constantly. Perhaps he does beat his kids. We'll never know unless we do the investigations. I could be saying if I cared. The reality is I don't watch this man or care about him. He's got a deep concern about a man he's never met on a different side of the world as far as he is concerned with his belief based on flat Earth measurements. So maybe people will start opening their eyes and looking at the accusers and asking themselves, why is it that you're accusing this person of that? You never met them. But maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just think, oh no, Nathan, bad man. Not that I've ever met him. Not that I've ever been able to actually talk to him about how painful flat Earth measurements are for me, because it's just about him and his kids. That's what you want to make it about. Very telling. Like I say, I'll see it as the exact same shit I've had to put up with 12 years from the start of this subject matter inquiry. By me. That's all I've ever had to put up with from day one. You know, go back and look at Tim Osman, who's very much not on the scene anymore. One of the people who would repeat the rhetoric, year from now, your channel will be dead. Yeah, I'm still hearing it 12 years later. Where's Tim Osman? Vanished into thin air because that troll was constantly getting pulled over, arrested, drunk driving, not in a good place, not a good person. Yeah? But he felt so righteous when porn bombing me and telling me my channel will be dead next year. Yeah, I've heard it all before. Yeah, being accused of being a child abuser is water off a duck's back. But we will, and will start from now, looking and analysing the people who make these accusations, the people who say we're not worthy of the air we're breathing, or we should have our balls removed, or we should jump off tall buildings, or have our kids taken off us by social services, will start looking back at you and going, I wonder why you'd say that. It's not like I'm going to be insecure about these things. It's not like it hasn't happened before. It's not like social services don't go, yeah, another one, yeah, it's an open and closed gate. Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah. So what do you think you're having some effect on me because I built the maps and built GPS flat? And I didn't. That's just how it works. You need to cope with your pain. Stop projecting it onto me. If you do, you'll just get analysed by us moving forward. That's what we'll be doing. We won't be dignifying you with a response when you say it's not flat. Okay, well, good that you think that. Interesting that you're now calling me a child abuser. I wonder why that is. I'm done.
What show was this? David Banner?
Yeah.
So that's what this idiot was talking about. He's claiming they were all flat earthers and everybody is turned on you.
I mean, obviously somebody who wants me to do badly is going to make whatever the scenario is, everybody turning on me. But no, there was one particular commenter who made that particular comment. Nobody else cared. It's not like everywhere I go, everybody's suddenly swooning and talking about me and me alone in a comment section. That's nonsense.
Liar. So he says Nathan got muted and called a pedo in the center of a flat earth hangout full of flat earthers. You are backing further up your desolate cul-de-sac. The flat earthers are not supporting you. That will be seen in the book failure. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
It sounds like wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I say,
you won't give him the time of day for his flat, measured, destructive, whatever he calls it, nonsense.
oh, it's Edinburgh. Edinburgh, can I get your address, please? Because this is borderline harassment and I'd like to report you to the police, given that you're in my country. Please, can you supply me with your address? I will make inquiries for what it is so I can report you to the correct authorities. What you're now doing is criminal. Okay, so I'd like your address to make sure I can report you for your activities. Can you supply it to me so I don't have to make inquiries of my own volition? Thank you.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
No, that's because Edinburgh's a complete coward. A troll that needs to project his own fears and insecurities through an internet that won't punish him for his criminal activity.
I don't think these people would survive real life encounters. There's no way.
No,
They
don't
spend most
dispute
of the
that.
time in a hospital.
No, that's why they're here. This is the only way they can play out a persona that they couldn't play out in real life with real people in normal social settings when you're pressing the flesh. In those settings, those people are scorned, shunned, and rejected. These are the betas and the gammas of the world, aren't they, Neil?
Yeah,
Yep.
but they're just praying for your demise. Pretty
Yeah.
sad.
So I say, I have no interest in you, go away. You say, I'm still going to hang around. And you're like, okay, you're creepy. Even the people, literally, as we tell you, we despise you and don't want to spend any time in your company. Your response is, I'm going to still hang around you. That speaks volumes. The only people that you can gain company from are people who utterly despise you. Why don't you try and find a friend there, Edinburgh? You want to find a friend as opposed to people who utterly despise you to hang around with? Because currently you're hanging around with people who hate you. Obviously you have a high degree of self-loathing because you can't find people who like hanging around with you. You're hanging around with people who despise you. So, okay, you're a masochist. But that makes me feel, again, high degree of pity for you. You pathetic troll. Your life must be miserable, Edinburgh. Utterly miserable. You're seeking validation for a destructive dichotomy that you've produced from people who despise you and sooner see you in pain than give you the time of day. But you're still hanging around with those people. You're the kid that has his head flushed down the bog, but because nobody likes him, those are the closest thing he's got to friends. So he goes and hangs around with those people again. They've told him to get lost and flushed his head down the bog. And they've told him in no uncertain terms, we don't want to be around you, we don't like you. And you are still there the following day. Because that's the closest thing you've got to friendship, isn't it, Eddie Bear? It is utterly pathetic. You are a beta.
Yeah, you got him. You got Rob Noxious. Rob Noxious, I would literally open hand smack the shit out of you if you were face to face with me, bad back and all. So stop with the messages. Nobody wants to hang out with you. Get it through your head. Go over to Gem Pandas and spend your time there. We gave you the permission to live on your ball. We no longer want to convert you.
Yes.
We do not care.
Yes, well said, Neil. We no longer want you to be... We're not welcoming you to Flat Earth anymore. Yeah, that boat has sailed, and we're not welcoming you. We don't want you. We'd rather you went back to the like-minded adenoidal dweebs over at Gems. We see you as a creepy-ass beta stalker. That's what we see you as. We utterly despise you and would sooner see you in pain than spend any time in your company. That's the reality. What's that, you still here? Really? You don't want to go and hang around with the other dweebs? Okay, fair enough. Masochist much? You'd rather hang around with us. We hate you. But you're still here? With people who hate you? I wonder why. Is this the closest you'll find to love? Oh, how sad.
And enough what they're trying to do society a service. You ain't doing society no service.
There it is.
You're on freaking
There it
Discord.
is. It's not betas, it's gammas. You're the secret king. You're secretly helping the whole of society, aren't you? No, you are utterly inconsequential. Even the people who you do hang around with, that's us, hate you. Do you think society at large is going to thank you for the service you perceive you're giving them? None of them are thanking you. Yeah? They all feel like we feel about you in the real world that you aren't capable of being in. You're here. In the real world, the girls overlook you like you don't exist, and the men look down upon you. That is the reality you have faced for your entire lives, and we know it. The best you can do is hang around with people who utterly hate you. That speaks volumes for who you are. Yeah? But in your mind, you're doing society a favour. How much do they pay you for this big favour that you're doing, you gamma dicks? You're not the secret king. But I'll be pointing it out, looking straight down this camera at you, looking into your soul, as I tell you, we hate you. So does everybody around you. But in your mind, they should be thanking you. They should be praising you. Yeah, you're a gamma secret king. That's what it really boils down to. We are consequential. Therefore, I'll put you on a pedestal, Nathan. And when I knock you off, I'll take your place as the king of society.
1010
Don't
over
forget
Street, Opelika, Alabama. Come anytime, Rob Noxious. You could send me pictures of Mr. Bodybuilder. I couldn't give a shit. I will still knock the shit out of you.
Listen, though, Neil, Nathan, part of this psychological dilemma and being the trolls that they are is the one of the things that they crave is attention, and that's what they're getting right at the moment. Just don't give him any.
Yeah, I get it. What you're saying is a negative narcissistic supply being hated is just as good as being loved. That's an Aleister Crowley point of reference. You know, it's better to be talked about in the negative than not be talked about. Oh, right. Well, they're talking about how much they hate us. That's good enough. I'll take it. Better that than not be talked about. Like, no, you're being utilized as an example. Like, your masochistic nature, where the kid who has his head flushed down the bog, in this metaphor, still wants to hang around with those kids. That's these guys. Now, okay, we can't do anything. We can't win either way. If we ignore them, they still force themselves upon us in a threatening way. So, if you can't win, it's like, okay, if you're going to be standing in this bog while we're smoking cigarettes, even though we flushed your head down the bog yesterday, we'll just look at you and go, we don't want you here. Stop joining in the conversation. We don't want you here. We utterly hate you. Now, if you feel the need to carry on hanging around with you because you enjoy narcissistic supply in the negative as much as the positive, again, it wouldn't have mattered if we'd have ignored you. You'd still be standing in that corner. There's plenty of people who skulk around in Discord. Unless I'm online without talking for a half an hour period, then they'll pipe about how they'll take the flat earth measurements as read, but demand explanations for how the map doesn't function in their opinion, with how the sun sets in a country they're not in, because they're so very interesting. When they're talking about their heliocentric sun setting, you're not. You're boring and we all hate you. So does society. If you're going to hang around whether we like it or not, we'll just reiterate that fact and psychoanalyse your pathetic, narcissistic, sadistic nature.
23 street fights. Oh, really, Rob? I'm scared. I'm shaking.
See,
You're
these
making
people
me
want to
shake.
threaten you. Yeah, again, Rob Noxious, can you supply an address because you're now being antisocial, making threats to one of my members of the panel, not by metaphor, not like me metaphorically flushing your head down the bog. By metaphor, I can hang Mickey Mouse by a noose. Doesn't mean that I'm actually threatening anybody, whereas you are literally threatening a member of the panel. So you're going to supply your address so that Neil can actually report you to the authorities? You're making literal physical threats to one of the panel. What the fuck? These people wonder why they're banned. Yeah, these people you wouldn't want to be around. And at the point that they're making physical threats, yeah, you'd want to stamp on their head to eliminate that threat. Or you're running away. What you're describing is a mechanism that's primordial or primeval or whatever the word is, where it's fight or flight. So you're like, well, when you suggest that I should be running away, you're suggesting that I'm put into a frame of mind where I need to run away from you while you chase us. Well, that results in eventually a standoff where you get your head kicked in. That's what happens. Because eventually, the crowd of people that you've pissed off turn on you. Now, you think, because you're a gamma dick, that you're the secret king, that they should all worship you. No. Every member of society would sooner smack the living piss out of you than praise you for helping them about your boring-ass knowledge of heliocentrism. No one gives two shiny shits about your boring-ass Keplerian information about a ball Earth in a sky vacuum that's been in place for hundreds of years. You're not special. The same goes for a lot of the other gamma dicks that feel that they can steal the valour from people like Euclid. It's like, you're not Euclid, dumbass. You think you deserve praise, secret kings? No. No, the quicker you pathetic, ineffectual, sadistic narcissists realise that you're inconsequential, the better. But nobody's going to thank you. Get that through your thick skulls. You think you're going to get praise? You're utterly delusional. Doing the society a favour.
Sorry, Nathan. Yeah, I think it's good we do go down the psychology route, but maybe not, I think it's used, as like I just said, highlighting anybody individually because that's what they want. They want the attention because that's part of the psychological dilemma that they're in. As long as they're getting mentioned, being focused on, then they get some sort of buzz out of it. But we can talk about these type of people without putting names to names, just the actual disorder that it is. We could talk about that,
Yeah, they're in mental pain.
He's sending me pictures of some guy weightlifting. Like, that's supposed to make me scared?
He's got pictures of men doing what now?
I guess he wants me to believe that that's him, and I should be afraid because he's had 23 professional fights and many street fights, Really, Rob? I'm even more scared now.
I just hear that he's sending you pictures of
He's
him
sending me
or
pictures of a
men.
male.
He's
Yeah.
sending
Of men.
he's sending you pictures of men, right? Him or otherwise, he's sending another man pictures of men, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That's interesting. You want to
That's
share
something
your
else we could
pictures, do you,
analyse.
of men?
There's another psychological situation we could analyze with certain people. You know, why would you want to send pictures of men to fellow men? What's behind that? What's in your mind when you're doing that?
Just
I don't
send
know.
Neil.
I gave him my address. He could listen to the show and get it again because he obviously didn't even get the address right. So anytime you're ready, take a plane ride, train ride. I'll meet you right out front. No problem.
Alternatively, rather than sending pictures of men, can you send Neil your address so you can be reported to the authorities because you're suggesting that you're going to fight him in physical terms? Right, not as a hypothetical, not as an example, but as a physical threat to Neil. So ideally, just send your address, Rob Noxious, so that you can be reported to the police.
I mean, I think this is a common thing. I mean, people have been arrested for this online harassment and abuse and bullying, and that's what it is. So, yeah, we should make notes of this and maybe do file it and report it to the correct authorities. Probably.
Yeah, if I cared. But moreover, I think Neil's initial idea that we'll just start ignoring them moreover, because most of them are requiring this negative narcissistic supply that we're providing them with. I think he's right. In the not too distant future, there'll be other fish to fry. There'll be new people asking the age-old questions. And it might be that we end up referring back to the housekeeping questions. They become more prevalent as they'll be put out there in the ether of the YouTube world as I go out and promote the book. So these people's relevance will fade into obscurity over the next couple of years, I would imagine. Just like Tim Osman. Do you remember Tim Osman? Does that name even mean anything to anybody on the
Big
panel?
clown.
Timmy Clown. Yeah, you've got it. Where's Timmy now?
I'm really hoping.
Good.
Just saying that I was hoping some sort of, genuine sort of new people could sort of find their way here, who have, just realised that, or that they're in a position, they're in a situation where they believe the Earth is flat, like we all did, and need some support and evidence, and we can provide that evidence for them. So I'm looking forward to that. I want more of that now. And so we can pass our knowledge and education on to these people. And it'll be interesting because we don't necessarily have to go through the old feast of nonsense with them or the housekeeping questions. We can just get straight into the measurements.
Yep.
We can explain that we did have to go through a number of years of nonsense, which we didn't realize we was going through, but we don't have to get into that really. And because now we can demonstrate and give you examples of how the Earth is utilized and measured and navigated and mapped flat, horizontal and level. So I think that'd be really interesting. So we need more people coming in, more newbies. Send them this way.
There is no more new people. FV is dead. Okay, Rob, keep telling yourself that.
Shout
That's
out
what
to
it is. See, that's the pain.
Shout out to FU3G who says, I would watch Moo Earth debate. Thank you for the super chat.
That's funny.
Shout out to Unitox Femu who says, every day realising that geometry, sea level and elevation profile are cause of psychological trauma, I suggest not using that in real life. Yeah, very good super chat. Thank you very much indeed for your support. Shout out to your friend Pablo, sends a heart. Thank you very much indeed for all of the support. These are all my members. Thank you very much for these super chats. Really appreciate it.
Bob is really threatening me. I'm feeling scared, Nathan. I really should call the authorities. I would slap you, you Guido bitch. I'd slap the gabagool out of your guinea mouth. Broke back ass bitch. You ain't slapping no one. Effie is dead. Will Duffy killed it. Nathan sealed it. You are the joke of Effie. Wow, this is some serious pain.
Neil, if you're scared, if you're legitimately scared, right, you don't get into any fisticuffs, just go back to the Globe, mate, and everything will be all right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. We're
That's
not
what he
going
needs.
there.
No,
and
let's
saying-
just do it. We'll give him his permission, right? What's that? What's that? You angry little man. It's dead. Well, actually, no, we're still here. That's why you're angry with us and telling us that you want us to be beaten up by you. Sending pictures of men to Neil. So Duffy killed it. No, we're still here. Yeah? What's that? My book will die immediately. No, it won't. It will sell some copies. At least 3. Any more for any more?
You mean big man? He's a big man, Nathan. Look at the pictures in Master B. He's a big man.
Did he send you his address yet?
No, he hasn't sent it to me. He's a coward. He's a little bitch.
So you're a coward then. Big man. Okay, send Neil your address and we'll have this dealt with by the authorities. Yeah? I'll also send them the messages that you've sent me when you've harassed me there. What's his name again? I forget. Some ineffectual, angry little man making threats and sending other men pictures of men.
Is that him with a virus mask on?
Exactly. He's got a mask on. You can tell where he is. Listen, it's not that we don't want you people on. You got to understand there is no debate. It's measured flat. And you have proven to be a piece of shit by the things that you've said when you were on the show. So, no,
Yeah,
you
you're
will
not a
never
nice
be on
person.
the show.
These people are deeply unpleasant, aren't they? Worthy of, like, this is one of the few people that's been banned. Does it shock anybody? This is a piece of shit, a person that you would not want to be associated with. Like a criminal, a sincere criminal, guilty of genuine threats against his fellow man, antisocial behaviour. Now, here in the UK, that's a crime. He's committing criminal acts against Neil as we speak. And they're like, why am I banned? Because you're a criminal. That's why.
Oh, now he's saying, if you let me on, I'll go on the camera, show you who I am, and give you my address.
And
No,
just
thank you.
Just give him it. You know, if you want to engage with Neil, give him your address, and then Neil can report you for your criminal activity and your threats.
Steroids do make you angry, though.
Yeah, I'm in no doubt. With that, though, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus Panels for making today's live show possible. If you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
Like I'm supposed
With
to
a
be
mask on with
scared.
it.
Like, oh
He
my
wearing a
God,
mask?
let me stop calling you a piece of shit. Because now I see that you have a couple of muscles. If it's even him,
Yeah.
who knows with these people?
You better go back to the believing in the Globe, Neil, and you'll be safe.
Yeah, it's like we're not going over there. Like, leave us alone. We don't want to hang out with you. It's like drives me crazy. Like when you say to somebody, we're not interested, we don't want to hang out. Right? We're just going to stay in our little group here and talk about the things we like to talk about with people we like to communicate with. I want to come in. No, we don't want you in here. You must let me in here. You're hiding. You won't let anybody debate because you'll be proven wrong. Oh, okay, that's fine. Still don't want to hang out with you.
Debate. There was no debate, Rob Noxious. No argument. There's no debate. Just measurements. And sea level. Good old sea level.
But they can do one
Sorry.
positive thing. You know, the people who are protecting against the war. They can do the same thing. They can go out with the panels and say and write Nathan Oakley, deceiver of the world, and they go, I don't know, in front of Buckingham Palace, and then people will see, and then somebody will stop this guy to deceive people. Or some kind of appeal to Amnesty International could help. If they think that they want to have healthy society.
See, here's another one, like the guys on the Dr. Banner show. Nathan is just a bad person without flat Earth. You hung out with Nathan? I could demonstrate to you how Nathan's not a bad person, how Nathan's a great person. It's helped me many
How can he be
times.
good, Neil? He deceived you by sea level. He told you the sea level is flat, and you accepted that. That means you are deceived.
So this guy calls me a broke back bitch. But when Nathan found out my freaking back might be broke, I was in a car accident. He put word out, and the community came together and helped me. And this guy calls me a broke back bitch. So who's the bad people here? I'm having a hard time figuring this out.
Well, it says here, a bad person is generally defined as an individual who intentionally and consistently causes harm, distress, or damage to others. Key characteristics include lack of empathy, selfishness, deceitfulness, and refusal to take on accountability for their actions. I wouldn't say Nathan's like that.
I'd say it's a projection of who they are.
Yep.
So you're the bad person. Let me project my nature onto him and say he's the bad person. I see.
Meanwhile, don't talk about measurements. Or sea level.
Well, when you
the
talk
Greeks
about measurements and when you talk about measurements and sea level, what are we talking about? We're just talking about reality, right? This is just something that is reality. You can't escape it. We all use sea level in everything we do, right? If you're measuring how tall you are.
That's why I call it a psychological dilemma, because they realize and know this. Eratosthenes measured Earth flat and just calculated for a step. Surveyors measure Earth flat. Yeah. Celestial navigation, sea level, altitude, elevation angles. They know this, but then in the mind, they're on the ball. Now that is a psychological dilemma, because you're realizing you're measuring Earth flat, but then you're also living on a ball. So the two don't go together. They can't go together. They're not axiomatically attached, and that does something to the brain.
On the other hand,
but you got
what you're not taking into account is how Will Duffy ended this discussion. Did you take that into account? It did get ended. It was the final experiment. You do know that, right?
No. We got the documentaries are coming out. I keep hearing it, but they never come out. And then I'm given tasks to do. Listen to this. At lunchtime on the job site, buy a 12-inch pizza, cut it in half, take a piece of string and lay it around the edge of the pizza and cut the string to that length. Then stretch the string out. Stretch it out straight and lay it along the straight cut of the half of the pizza. Does it fit? Is it the same? You know what I do with a pizza, Nathan? I eat
it. No.
These people cut strings on it.
Well, you. Oh my God. Is this what it's coming to? Please tell me no.
Yeah. But it's straight. It has to fit. It's flat. It has to fit. 10th Man says it does. It does fit. 5,400 miles for the half diameter, 10,800 for the full diameter. They're really obsessed with this pi equals 2 thing.
Yeah, because you've skipped past the angle measurement. That's
All
wow.
right, that's it. That's the opening. That's the opening statement, and nobody wants to talk about the opening statement. They want to go to where the sun is not in the right place, or how it's not. It doesn't add up. The diameter doesn't add up. But pi equals 2 does. Not my measurements. Don't care. I go right to the beginning where you measured Earth's flat. That's all I need to know. Everything else is irrelevant to me.
Let's just take it as read that Earth's measured flat. How do you explain pi equals 2?
Exactly.
These people are idiots.
Yeah, and no matter how much you say, I don't care, I don't explain, I don't have to explain, it means nothing to me. They still want you to give them an answer.
Ah, they look up to you, Neil. They really want your, they desire your input on this. They can't cope with it. They're too dumb to figure it out. They need you to do it for them.
Okay, so pi equals 2. I'm in agreement with you now. Can you leave me the freak alone?
It doesn't, but that's just their stupid idiocy that they want to say pi equals 2. Why they'd come to that conclusion, I don't know. And I don't care.
Well, it's got to
Does
do
that
with
mean
the
sea level's not
circumference.
level?
Pardon?
No, see,
I'm saying, does that make sea level not level now to get the elevation angle, depending on pi's in value?
Sea level's level. Flight level's still level. The ball's still made with flat Earth measurements. We didn't come up with any of it. None of it's our responsibility.
yeah, but they
just pointed
charge
out.
us. They charge us like it's our responsibility. Like I gotta get in touch with the freaking cartographers and ask them why this. For some reason, I got these people that I don't know if they're flat earthers or ball earthers, but they're telling me pi equals 2. What do I do now?
Time to get lost. Say, piss off. You are fundamentally unlikable. Oh, but you must answer me, and if you ban me, I'll make 10 more accounts. Ha ha ha! I can inflict pain. What was that list again?
Should change the name of the nautical mile to Nathan Tickle Mile.
Mechanical mile. I like it. Well, here's the funny thing. They say he's irrelevant. Flat Earth's dying. The book's going to fail. So why do you want Nathan's input on your measured flat destructive dichotomy? Why is it so important that Nathan hears you out on this? He's irrelevant. His book's going to fail. And Flat Earth. So I don't get it.
I've already broken this down. If we're important enough to have on a pedestal to show that we're wrong, then by contrast, that makes them right. And if they're right, they have an influence on the world and they are the secret king and should be thanked by everybody. That is their mentality.
Yep.
Can you give me an example of one book in human history failed?
A book that failed? There's plenty of books that failed.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You read the book or you like or you don't like. It's not that it's failed.
I don't know. I know what you mean. But just go back to Nick's point. That's correct. It's not about the subject matter. It's about individuals and, putting that individual down or getting one over on that the subject matter is irrelevant to some of these people. It's just a matter of, like you say, putting themselves on a higher pedestal than the person who's got evidence to prove something, and they obviously haven't. Well, the only proof they do have is flat Earth elevation angle measurements, like we do, like everybody does. But yeah, it's not about the subject matter, is it, Nathan? It's about, like you just said, I like that.
Slightly off topic, guys, but is anyone familiar with the TV show, The IT Crowd?
Yeah, oh yeah. Have you tried turning it off and on?
The what?
The IT Crowd. basically, there's a malapropriism that one of them uses, and you keep using the word all the time, and it's battering my head. Basically, he messes up, uses a malapropriism, and says pedal stool instead of pedestal. So you're saying that word a lot lately, and I just hear it from his voice, and it's been battering my head for a good week or so now. But I just had to say that.
Pedestal, he says.
Pedal stool.
Pedal stool. Put him on a pedestal, as in pedal or peddling stool.
Yeah.
What are you going to put him on a piece of shit?
Malapropriism.
No, pedestal is just an elevated, lofty position in a metaphor, right?
Mm-hmm. It's just the word. Sorry to take us away from everything, but every time I hear it, it's just been battering my head.
Listen, Len, you give money, you can take us away whatever way you want.
Yes, I am that mercenary.
Now you got me thinking pedestal.
If you've not watched the show, Neil, check it out. It's a little bit geeky, but it's funny.
Who posted that short little video with the Bongino guy talking about the people that wanted to make the map more gay? Did anybody see that? It was a Master B.
That would be.
Who was that? Adam?
Yeah.
That's my boy Bongino. Don't mess with him.
And maps are made politically as well as, from flat.
He's like, how do you make a map gay?
I honestly don't know. It wasn't the first time I've heard of that kind of concept, but I never heard him come out and say that kind of thing. And, it does bring about, like, how does that work?
You guys ain't familiar with Dan Bongino, huh?
Transgender maps next, bleeding on.
He took over for, who was that guy? Rush. What's his name? That guy that had the successful talk show. Died of cancer.
Vince, would you say?
No. It's that radio show in America.
Rush Limbaugh, Neil.
Yes. I don't know if he's still doing it, but he started doing the show in his place. But he's a political guy.
I think he might have stopped once he became somebody in Trump's administration. I think he gave up the show after that.
Yeah, well, he was Secret Service before that for a couple of presidents.
For the Clintons, I think, right, and the Bushes.
Yeah, for a few of the sitting presidents, he was part of that team. But it's funny. He's like, how do you make a map more gay? Just measurements.
I don't know. What does it mean? Just like make it more like happy. Just put some smiley faces around the edges or something.
Yeah, that's the real word. You gotta take back that word. See, they took the freaking rainbow colors and they took the word gay. So something happy means something else to them. And the rainbow that had a meaning, they tried to hijack that to mean something else. Pretty pathetic. That was the other thing thrown at me. Nathan doesn't know what science is. None of you know what science is. So use it right and the whole world is wrong, right? Wrong.
We know what a measurement is, though.
Yes, I could try and
Right.
move away from the whole thing with science. Like, science has nothing to do with this topic. So let's talk about the measurement. No, but you don't know what science is. So all of these professionals that get paid big money, they're doing it wrong, but some flat earther on the internet with a T-shirt on is doing it right. They're like a never-ending fountain of pain, like a constantly erupting volcano.
Let's try and maybe do some normie vids soon. We've not done one for a while. And I have had a brief look. I'm not finding what I want. I've got something in my head that I want to find, but I've not found it.
One deck.
Along
There was
the,
one from last week. Nathan won't do it.
Oh, well, I'll do it
Brought it
tomorrow.
up today about
Oh,
the
I said I'll do
survey.
it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see.
Or, like I'm saying, I've got something in my mind about covering this, like the psychological dilemma situation and different aspects of that. But I can't find anything suitable at the moment. But are we going to have a look at that, do you think? Or is that a bit too out of... Is that where we're going? Do a little bit of it, couldn't we? Psychoanalyzing.
So you want to get
behaviors.
into psychoanalyzing these nut jobs?
Well, like we're saying, we realize now we've realized that the Earth is measured flat. It's becoming apparent that these people are behaving oddly. You know, we're telling them it's over. There's been no argument, no debate. We don't want to really be around them. We don't, and they're forcing them ways onto us. They're threatening behaviour, which you've just witnessed yourself today. Threatening violent behaviour, all over a topic that has been sort of dealt with. So this is psychological. It is interesting to me how the mind and the body and the biology of it works. So, you know, we're not talking about Coriolis much anymore. So why don't we analyse these people who we've been in talks with for 10 years or whatever? And, you know.
So I get it. You want to psychoanalyze the people that opposed when it first started with flat versus globe, and we have no bearing on it either way, right? None of us. So we'll psychoanalyze them to try and figure out what's making them tick. I'm with you.
I actually posted a video yesterday. It's a few posts up on Master B. There's a guy who did about 25 minutes on Schopenhauer and his philosophy on basically dealing with stupid people or people that are fools. And there's probably about 30 very apropos sound bites, statements in there that just generally cover, you know, how dealing with people that are stupid and trying to actually treat them as if they're consequential saps your intellect. Actually, I was listening to it and several of the statements that he makes in the video. It's an AI video that just, you know, drones on. But basically saying a lot of things that we've been saying for a long time about how we're dealing with these people. So it's not necessarily psychoanalyzing them personally. It's just analyzing the conundrum of having to deal with people who are purposefully or ignorantly not as intelligent. And
sounds good. That
yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's a couple. It's just up there yesterday.
Yesterday, right?
Yeah, and just a few posts up. I think I said something about Schopenhauer in my comments. So yeah, take a listen to that, and you could probably take, like I said, about 30 or 35 statements
out of that and just take each of those statements individually and go, yeah, that's how we're dealing with this person, and that's how Globers are acting. And I don't know about Schopenhauer. I almost want to read Schopenhauer's stuff, but he was like another one of those recluse people that wrote a bunch of wise stuff, but he was a recluse and probably not a very fun person at parties. He was.
I mean, it sounds good because there's a lot to it. I mean, like I've mentioned, I've been going on about narcissists for a while because I was looking into that just because of something personal, somebody I know. I was looking into it, and I didn't know. I've used the word narcissist before and not really known what I had the wrong idea of what it was. I just thought it was somebody who was like a bit evil, and do nasty things. That was just what came into my head years ago when someone said narcissist, but there's more to it than that. It's like people have got to be in control. They've always got to be right. And then it came to I realised that a lot of people within this arena on the opposing side, if you want to call it that, have them traits. So then, you start thinking is it a mental health issue or a psychological dilemma issue? The behavior and the way people behave. So there's a lot to this. There's lots of different areas we could go with this. But
why is it this topic? You think about any other topic, I don't think they'd spaz out the way they do. It's something with this topic, the nature of reality, Earth being flat. I don't know if it's through the indoctrination, or maybe they don't want to look stupid because it was taught in school to be laughed at. Like when the people used to think Earth was flat, it was like the butt of a joke. So could that be it? Like, I'm not going to be stupid here. But in reality, the stupidity is the globe, right?
Yeah. I think we've all spoke about it before, and your journey and my journey, everyone's journey is different, but the majority of us, I know you did oppose it for a while, Neil, but the majority of us, when we realised or believed that Earth was flat, it wasn't a fight situation. It was like, wow, this is amazing. This isn't a globe. I'm not living on this globe, I've been told. And it's like, I want to know more about this. Now, have these people got to a situation? So there's a type of person who can just think, I want to learn about this now. It's interesting. Yeah. It's not come into it that's been your education for years and you can't go against that. Not in my case. He's like, wow, I want to know why have I been told otherwise than what is reality? This is interesting stuff to look into. And maybe these people, that's their difficulty, that they can't, for a psychological reason, that they on the surface or deep down or whatever you want to say, they can see Earth's measured flat. They're thinking there might be a possibility that these flat earthers are correct, and it looks that way, but we can't. I'm not letting go of it because of what you've just said. Maybe because you're going to the minority. I don't know.
It depends on how it's presented to you, right? Because when I first heard it, it was backed up with a load of feast and nonsense stuff, conspiracy stuff. Now, if you're presented with it, how it's just measured flat, and you break it down, I don't think I would have had the response I had to my brother. Like if he just told me about, look, I just measured flat. You work with tools all the time. You work with levels. Think about it. And he went into elevation angles and things that we talk about. The penny would have dropped. But I was brought into it and there's an ice wall that surrounds us, and the government's lying to us, and NASA this, and it really means NASA means whatever the word they said it means.
Deceive.
Yeah, deceive and all that. I was hit with all of that stuff. So I immediately braced against it and went out to prove how he was wrong. And I tried to prove the globe, and I was told to, go up a tree, and look. And Earth is a globe.
Yeah. So if you got a newbie coming on here now with them questions, we'd have to, would the best? How would you deal with that if it was a newbie like you coming in and he's saying, well, what about the ice walls and everything else? You don't really need to talk about that, do you?
They can write the measurements.
Yeah. Say, listen, we understand this is the nonsense surrounding the measurements when we're only focusing on the measurements of the map, of the navigation, of flight.
Right. I wouldn't even tell them this is the nonsense that surrounds the measurements. I would take them to the measurements first, like we do. And then if you want to get into it, you could explain, you see, that's why they tried to lose this in the nonsense of all the conspiracies. So it can be looked at as a conspiracy. But as you see through measurement, you know this is not a conspiracy. It's just measured that way.
And that would be so nice for a new person coming in. Just say, listen, guys, listen, mate, we've been through this. Look, there's sea level. I'm trying to draw you a nice horizontal line. We've got a thing called sea level. It's 0 at that end, 0 at that. This is the 0 degree baseline for all elevation profiles on Earth. That's how it works. We've been given this sea level. Sorry, I mean mean sea level. And this is what we use as our baseline for measuring everything on Earth. Everything.
Yeah, but everybody already knows that before they even hear about flat Earth.
Do they?
Yeah, they already know that.
Yeah, no.
You tell me how they know that.
No. They call it sea level, don't they? But they don't put. They picture a curved water ball, don't they?
No, they didn't know. They don't.
No, I don't. I agree with no tanks
just when you tell them about
the
Earth, when you tell them about the Earth, but when you tell them about sea level, they don't think that.
Yeah, they don't think curved. They all automatically see sea level, right? Your regular everyday guy, you tell them sea level, they see sea level.
Whoever it was that was just talking, thank you so much for saying that. About 6 months ago, I was shot down in flames when I said, this will be accepted as having always been known to be the case. And everyone was like, no, they'll be lying. They'll be lying if they say that. No. Everyone appreciates what sea level is. Everyone has an instinctual understanding of how flat Earth is. And that's how this cycle goes. It's ridiculed, condemned, and then accepted as having always been the case. Yeah, it's treated as though it's a laughable subject, flat Earth. Then it's, no, we must put these people down. We must have their kids taken away from them. And then someone like you comes along and goes, everyone already knew that Earth was measured flat with sea level, though, didn't they? And I'm like, yeah, they did. And that's the only way that if people want a consensus view, not that it's required for flat Earth, if they want that consensus view, they'll achieve it by recognising how flat they already knew it to be. Because then they'll go, yeah, I always knew.
Yeah, but Nathan, there's different levels, mate. It's not always the same level. So it's not level.
It's not level. I mean, you have to level something. So obviously, if it was level, why would you have to level it?
But yeah, I have to ask them to just draw me a picture of sea level. You can guarantee
it's a mind disease.
Well, that's what Jim did.
Yeah.
Hold on, that's what Jim did in his class, right? Sorry, no thanks.
That's why the things you guys were saying, like the whole, like, what the NASA means to deceive or whatever, I can't remember what you guys call it, the something of nonsense or whatever. I think that part might be necessary. I'm not sure, because everybody already knows that sea level is, they know what level is. And then you tell them that the Earth's a globe. And they go, wait a minute, I know two things now that are contradictory, and they can't get out of it. So it's like, I don't know, this nonsense stuff might be necessary.
Oh, you just ruined it. You got praise, now you're going to get shot down.
No, but what we think of this one.
Yeah, but what we say, Neil, sorry, we've spoke about this for a number of months. We've, and we've had discussions about it. What would we do now? Is it best? What we've said is it do people need to go through that or not? And we don't know, do we? Because we've all been through it, and that's what I was saying earlier. If somebody gets here, it'd be nice now to get a newbie, but they probably all have they're going to have a globe belief, but maybe thinking, I'm doubting it.
what do I do? Where do I go for what's the best information? But they might already have some of the Feast of Nonsense where they've been directed, like to, Not So Flat Earth Dave and places like that.
There was a few new people that came in here and they weren't getting it. I was getting very discouraged. I was like, geez, maybe they do have to go through the freaking Feast of Nonsense, because how are you not getting what we're putting down?
Disease or something. That's why I don't have the answer, right? But it seems like everybody quote unquote has the same story, right? Like I went through this whole nonsense thing, and then I was like threw my hands up in the air and we're like, I'm just going to go right to the empirical thing itself and find out the truth. But like, would you have done that if you didn't get fed the feast? I don't know. Everybody's got the same story, so I can't tell you.
Yeah, like I said, it would be nice to have someone who's just like a virgin flat Earth believer.
We want to pop your cherry. Come in here.
that hasn't got any Feast of Nonsense as such, just the general education, #education that they've been given, and they've not heard anything, and they're going to ask us like, right, I'm doubting about the globe for some reason. Something's just popped into my head, and I don't think this globe's real. What can you guys tell me? Now, in that situation, I'd say, well, I can definitely tell you it isn't a globe because there's no measurements of a globe and it's measured flat, horizontal and level. And we do use sea level for all the measurements. And then we could go through bit of mapping, scale, distance, pitch data, aeroplane altitude above sea level.
Yeah, but all that stuff happens on a globe.
Well, that's a contradiction.
Straight and level.
I know that's what's going on in their head. I'm saying like, but that's all stuff. That's stuff that happens in reality. We live on a globe in reality.
Brainwashing, isn't it? It's getting. But gotta go back to the Alan, whatever he's called video. I think he touched on, about these people wanting to argue, they want the argument. But I think he also was saying, you can't change their mind. You can't. And we're not trying to. If they come in asking for information, we can give the information. But then that's all you can do. That's all you can do, really.
Is he still alive, that guy, Alan Watts?
I'm not sure, but what I'm saying is...
I'd like to put him to the test and tell him Earth is flat, see what way he goes.
What I'm saying is all you can do is just show them how surveyors measure and survey the land, how aeroplanes work. It's all working off of a level 0 degree baseline. Everything, mapping, navigation. We can show you this, we can show you that. That's what's happening in reality. So you take that away now and absorb that information, and if you still think it's a ball, then I don't know what to say, really.
Pretty sure that guy Alan Watts was like a hippie weirdo who died in the 60s or something.
Yeah, he does come out with some. Nathan posted a video a while ago, and he was hitting the nail on the head and it just related to.
He's an Eastern religion dude, man.
Yeah,
all that stuff comes from the Bible originally, anyway.
But that particular video, if you missed it, was just about people wanting to keep arguing, and the beliefs are challenged, and the way they behave and stuff like that. It really did resonate with a lot of the globe believers and how they behave.
They'll send you pictures of diesel bodybuilders and say, "I want to come and kick your ass if you keep saying Earth is flat."
I think Alan Watts.
It's a deep, sick disease that's rooted in their personal epistemology, and to really go, you can hit them with all the stuff, but if you're trying to get to the people, that's different than getting to the facts, and it requires something special, because there's something special going on. Like I said, I make the joke sometimes that I knew the Earth was flat quicker than Neil. I say it took me all of one day, and I say that because I always knew, just like Nathan had just said. I always knew that level was horizontal, right? And I just held these two things up, and it really did not take me long, right? It really didn't take me long because I already knew it. Like everybody already knows it. But there is still something else like that had me doubting what I already knew. So that's an epistemological issue. How you know what it is that you know.
I used to give it as an example, like, you know, you've grew up with your parents and your mum for how long, you know, and that's your mum, and then you get to a certain age, like at 25, 30, and it becomes apparent that this isn't actually your mum, your blood mother. It was somebody who just adopted you or found you and has been looking after you, and your whole world might fall apart because you believe that this person was, you know, your mother. And it's not now. And,
okay, Whitsit.
What? Mate?
That's a Whitsit that's a Whitsit argument there.
Argument.
Yeah, that's a Whitsit used to say.
It's not one deck's fault that Whitsit has conquered and done the best arguments. It's not, you know, what can you do?
Yeah, well, I didn't know that, but I'm saying it is like, you know, you feel something's that it's what you've believed to be true, and you've been very close to it, and it's part of your life, and then that's taken away.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it last time I was on the show, right? And it's you're referencing like it's their foundation, right? And I think I mentioned it last time on the show that like the very first things that come to mind when you talk about quote unquote flat Earth, like those first questions, like, is this a religious thing, right? I think it is. I think that is why you can't get some people, because their foundation is built on, you know, science or other men or authority figures. That's their foundation. That is their. If they don't have foundation in like God or some kind of religion, then they put it in that. And like, how do you take somebody's foundation away? You know, the whole go to another Whitsit thing, right? Falsification independent of replacement. I don't think that's true. You can't have no foundation. That's impossible. I'm mixing things up, but yeah, you can't have no foundation. But falsification is independent of replacement.
Well, the religion is the ball, though.
No.
Yeah, the religion is the ball. That's built on a belief. The flat Earth is not a religion. That's a measurement.
No, that's not what well, like, you know, you go to fight, that's not, sure, like you could say like the ball is some kind of religion, but that's not what I mean. So what is that built upon? That's built upon like this idea that, you know, well, the ball built itself, right? And like, well, then how did the ball come about? Well, the universe made itself. Well, how did the universe come about? Well, I don't know. It just can't. So that's their foundation is like chaos or whatever.
Yeah. The religion is heliocentrism. It was built on bullshit. And that's what most religions are built on. Bullshit.
Well, it's funnily enough, it was built on flat Earth measurements. Funnily enough, it's
a true like
yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, hold on. That's a religion. They take a little bit of truth and they fabricate the rest. That's how Satan did it too. Took a little bit of truth and wrapped it up in a whole lie, and that's what they did in heliocentrism.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, what I'm pointing out is that it's a true dichotomy. Like this is not a false dichotomy. It's a true dichotomy that either it built itself or it was built. Like it's a true dichotomy. Either it's either evolution or creator. There's no third option. It's just a true dichotomy.
What's evolution?
What is it?
Yeah, define evolution.
Well, this idea that things build themselves. That one thing becomes another thing with like somebody. Like, well, I mean, it's a variation of it. So it's like one thing became another thing by a random mutation, right? Like random, no cause, no like no intention. But all I'm pointing out is it is a true dichotomy that either the Earth, the universe, whatever, came about by some natural means which does not require intent or design, or it was intended and designed. It's just there's no third option.
No, there's only one option.
Well, yeah, I agree. I could go through that, and I agree with that. But yeah,
even regardless of all that, what we've got to deal with is is sea level. no matter how that got here, it's level, and that's we use sea level for measuring the place we live on called Earth. It's used for mapping, navigation, flight. You know,
I agree, but somebody who's going to say, like somebody who has that mindset that things came about naturally, like the true dichotomy that I said, they're going to say, well, nothing is making sea level be sea level. There's no creator that's making it be that. It's dependent upon something else, like this, like the planets or the cosmos. They're pulling and tugging and creating. Yeah.
Yeah, but they got to prove. You know, you got to prove that. You can't just say it. It's just a baseless assertion.
No, I know what he's saying. I don't know if thanks he's saying, but what I'm saying is, regardless of all that, it's level.
That's correct.
Yeah. I'm just pointing out the because one deck you had touched on a little bit last time in today, and I'm just pointing out the psychological thing.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, mate. I'm not saying that you're wrong or anything. I'm just saying, yeah, you could start talking about was we created, were we not created, was it a big bang or evil? It doesn't matter. Sea level's level, and that's what's used to measure the Earth that we live on for everything.
Yeah, somebody who doesn't have all I'm pointing out is somebody who has a evolutionist, naturalist, materialistic foundation. They're not going to buy it. They're going to say maybe not. It depends. It's going to be a dependent situation.
I'm at the point now. I don't care.
It's not about buying.
No, I hear that too. Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. That's what I say about some. I don't think you can, and not that we're trying to change people's minds, although some of us may have been doing at some point of our journey. I did. I think Nathan said he did. Neil did. I thought I thought I was chosen to go and tell people that the Earth is flat, and you know, not
the chosen one.
I was the chosen one.
You don't think you were?
Deck.
I think you were. Maybe not for that.
One deck.
And but when you get into the psychology of it and human beings and everything, you can't force people to change the beliefs. You know, they're gonna find things out. However, what way they find them things out on a journey, they might just always stay as they are. You know, with the belief that they've got and be happy.
You can change. You can change. Like what you can do. I don't know. Like what I think you can do. I don't know if you can do it with people on the internet, but like with people, I don't know. What you can do, you can challenge their epistemology. That's the challenge. It's like, how do you know what you know and what makes it true? And if they don't have a justification, then they have no grounds, which means they have no foundation, which means that they're going to need to replace that with a foundation.
What do you?
Yeah, but just one thing though, Neil. Before I've just said all that, then I've realised then it doesn't about changing you. It doesn't matter anyway what you believe, as Nathan's been putting down, that whether you believe it's dealt with level. So regardless of if someone's changed your mind about something or you remain in the same belief system that you're in, the maps are still going to use sea level for elevation profiles, regardless of what's in your mind.
Yeah, of course. I mean, but did you want to say what you were saying? If not, yeah, I mean that's the whole thing.
What do you base truth on?
Okay.
What do you base truth on? What's your measuring stick?
God.
That's exactly the point.
There you go.
God, the beginning of fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge of the truth, of what is true. Everything else is belief. If you don't know what is true, then you can only believe what you believe based on other sources of information, teaching or movies or whatever. If you don't have an epistemological foundation in knowing that the knowledge of God and his creation is true,
then everything else is fair game. Measurements are, in this analogy, truth, right? You got 5 inches. That's true. It's either true or it's not.
Yeah, measures to know.
Yeah, measures are to know what is true. Level is level. And when people say, well, level actually means in the context of geodetic surveying, it means it's curving with the curvature of the earth, that's not true. Simply because level cannot be curved at the same time.
Correct.
That takes out that goes against the first rule of logic. Something can't be one thing and another at the same time.
Law of identity. That's number one. All the other ones follow, though. Yeah.
All right. You got technicality, right? But the what is the the law of non-contradiction? Is that what the deal is? One thing can't be one thing and another at the same time.
Yeah, which all rely upon the first law, which is the law of identity. That and in this context, that a line is a line which has an identity which is straight or whatever. Yeah.
And you could kind of extend that to the creation is the identity of God. You know God because of his creation. And
his line has gone out through all the earth.
Yeah, that confuses people. That line. Oh, that's just a metaphor for something. No, it's a line.
His line has gone out through all the earth.
It's like circle. That's like God looks down on the circle of the earth. Well, that just means a sphere because you look at a sphere and it looks like a circle from God's perspective.
Yeah, it's just the whole like psychological thing is in my opinion. Like I'm not going to lie and say I don't want to convince these people who I talk to. Yeah, I want them to know what I know. For sure. I want them to, understand it. I do.
Why?
I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that's not what I'm going for.
But why? Tell me why. Why do you want them to understand it?
Yeah. Why do we all? Yeah. Why do we all want to be aligned with what? Why do I want other people to be aligned with what is true? I don't know. What is compelling me?
God. We're supposed to preach the truth, the gospel. Go out and change men's hearts.
That's not the God. Hold on. That's not the gospel, though. The gospel's specific.
Right. But
the good news that you hold on. The gospel is specific. It's the good news that you do not have to pay for your own sin. There has been a substitution. That's the good news. That's the gospel.
But what does gospel mean? Doesn't it mean truth? I'm just saying that's why why people in general are compelled in their hearts to share what is true, and that's why we naturally want to say, look, I know that level means level. Can't you get that through your head, right? And then you have to plant that seed and let someone figure that out.
My internet went out, so I don't know what you heard, but I was saying that the gospel specific to the substitution for sin, right? We know that God has made a way where there was no way. So that's specific. That's the good news. Now, if you want to talk about truth of the scriptures, that's totally different. As far as why would you want to preach that? Like I've been on both sides where in the beginning it's like, what are you telling people out this fight for? It's more important that they know about the blood of Jesus, that Jesus can wash away their sins. And I'd be like, yeah, but isn't it true? And don't you want the truth of the gospel right at Genesis? Isn't that important? The foundation? And now I'm kind of swinging back the other way. Like the only thing I really want to tell people is that there is a way where you don't have to stand before God and give an account for your sin. I think that's the most important thing. I'm at this point in my, you want to call it the journey, the flat earth journey, where I don't care anymore. You believe what you want to believe. Even the Christians that want to believe they're on a spinning water ball, that's it. I'm done. I'm washing my hands with it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. That's really not. And yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea. What can you do? But yeah, my only point was that if they have a bad epistemology.
No thanks. Listen, no thanks. It's been almost, since 2016? 10 years. Nathan, probably longer. Other people maybe longer, maybe shorter. 10 years of the same nonsense over and over again. And people threatening you, sending pictures of freaking bodybuilders. Who needs that? Like, who even wants to deal with that? Here's what we think. We came across this knowledge that Earth is measured flat. All right, you don't want to accept it? Okay, fine. Go over there.
Yeah, but
I want no conversation with you.
Even Nathan's latest statement, or the one that you had cited a moment ago, that's an epistemological question or assertion, right? It's and what I mean, the one that I'm talking about is that the truth is mind independent. Like, it doesn't matter. The thing that you said was, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not.
Exactly.
It's independent of what I believe. That is that the truth is mind independent. And how do you come to know the truth? And then a question you should maybe, or maybe like a term you should think about, Neil, which I'm sure you know actually, but I find it useful. It's you could use it in any context. It's just, what is the necessary precondition for X, which is like the transcendental type of argument. So whatever it is the topic is that you're talking about, if you just ask somebody, what is the necessary precondition for fill in the blank, you'll get to what their problem is.
Yeah, you guys can have it. I'm done with it. I'm done where I am. It's like I reached my end with it. That's it. I'll just come and hang out with you guys because I like talking about the topic. But as far as trying to convert somebody to their ball belief, I have no desire. It's just freaking. It's a waste of my energy.
Well,
one deck is the chosen one, not you.
Scripture says that you, at that point, shake the dust off your feet and move on. That's what you're doing, and that's cool with God.
Well, that's pertaining to the gospel as well now.
Well, yeah, but you're shaking your feet off. You're shaking the dust off your feet as far as
I could take him to the truth. Listen, we all could take him to Genesis, and that's the beginnings of entropy right there. The beginning of creation. Everything is right there for everybody to see. It's laid out step by step, right? We could take him to that if you want to. Been there, done that. And I find it vanity because they're going to hold on to their beliefs. And until they come to realization, I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know if staying around in these arenas, but you can go over to Gem Pandas and you see the same exact people that were here 12 years ago. Same exact people. And most of them are atheists, if you want to define what an atheist is. But that's what it is. They're pretty much God haters. They hate God and they want nothing to do with God because they're under the original condemnation. Right?
they're rejecting the truth and unrighteousness.
Correct.
Oh, now you know. That's like a good qualifier. You say, "Hey, man, what's up? Oh, you're a Christian. Oh, you're a Muslim." And then you're like, "Okay, at least this person I can maybe talk to about this." Because if not, then they have some kind of loose, retarded foundation, which is none at all.
It's hard to deny that level is horizontal. And I'm sorry, it's hard to deny that level's horizontal and gas pressure requires containment. And
that's a transcendental right there.
To sit here kind of and say as many true and simple sentences that I can until people around me are kind of weathered, like it's weird that that's what it feels like though. But you sit here and you say gas fills space and levels flat enough, people remember, and that's kind of like changing the world. So I'm digging it.
Well, you need a different
You're a
attitude. You need an
special
attitude
guy.
adjustment. What changes, right? If you see it from a social perspective, that is to say, it feels like flat Earth requires the opposite of what the globe currently requires. So the globe needs consensus. It's not real. Therefore, for it to be perceived as real in the mind's eye of the public, there must be a consensus on the matter. Therefore, we're all trained in it at school. It has to have gone to that lengths to make this nonsense real in the mind's eye of everybody who has been taught it, right? Flat Earth, by equivalent, does not need the same standard. Doesn't need it. Without trying, Earth was being measured flat anyway. In the spite of the constant and expensive indoctrination of people from birth, Earth was still measured flat, even with that level of indoctrination, expensive that it is. So from that perspective, when you feel that you've got to, quote, change the world, what you're going to change, it's already being dealt with flat anyway, as opposed to the social structure of heliocentric religious belief. Like, no. Once you walk away from Scientology, walk away, turn your back and ignore them, as opposed to stand on the picket lines, pointing in and going, look, these people are believing in this nonsense. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a perfectly fair comparison to Scientology, because there's people who see it as a cult that traffic kids and sex traffic people. So you go, okay, you're going to stand in opposition to that. I get it. Yeah, that is due diligence. If you see that there's abuse going on within a cult, fair enough. I can understand why you'd want to highlight that. Within heliocentrism as a religious belief, it's a religious belief that's based on our position. It's based on the flat Earth measurements. So when you say you need to change the world, that tells me that you believe you need to draw a parallel and get the world to have a consensus view on flat Earth. And it really, honestly, isn't necessary. So from that perspective, relax. You don't need to change the world. The world's quite happily being measured flat anyway. So really, it's not of your concern. Now, that has its parallels for the next man you talk to that you felt previously you had to convert. It's not his concern either. And it also reflects on the trolls that oppose us. It's not their concern either. They're not going to alter anything. They're not doing anything with it. And the guy that you convert isn't about to change the world either. He's not about to create a new map. Now, if there was a consensus view that Earth was flat because it is dealt with that way, then it might be that people change their direction in terms of their advancement of humanity. But as it stands, there's people who benefit from training people that it's a ball, that want it to remain that way, in opposition to how it's actually measured. But without doing a damn thing, Earth has and is and always will be measured flat. You don't need to intervene. Now, by me expressing that absolute stone cold fact, it just demonstrates that there's a level of apathy that I can exercise towards the subject that will resonate stronger with a listening audience than me trying to appeal to them to understand how flat it is anyway. By not trying, it will resonate stronger. The message becomes more concentrated. By not trying to dilute it, by trying to explain it, by trying to have an opposition to somebody that needs the consensus. It's like, okay, you've got your consensus, and if I convince you that you're wrong, nothing will change. You as one man being converted to a flat Earth that was measured that way anyway won't change the world because it's not for changing. The measurements don't need any help. Do you see what I mean? They don't need altering. How it's practically applied, Earth and its measurements, has and always will be flat. So what assistance does it need? What change is required? Oh, you want to change the school system that trains people into a religious belief? Well, that's the universal one world religion. It's like saying, I'm going to go back 500 years and convince everybody in the Western world that are under the banner of Catholicism that you don't need to be under the banner of Catholicism, that the church is controlling you. You'd be like, you're pissing at the wall. You're never going to succeed in that. It will peter out into the control system of yonder year when it peters out and somebody doesn't take an advantage from it, that's got lots of money and power and influence and the ability to mould a social understanding. But the social understanding for a flat Earth is not required. It doesn't need consensus. Flat Earth doesn't need that. It just doesn't. And by saying that, you'll have more success with the people who are formerly a concern I need to convert this next man. He needs to understand. He needs the truth. If I can convince him of the truth, he's better armed for the world in front of him with a true understanding of the reality he's faced with. Therefore, it's my due diligence. You're like, no. In fact, quite the contrary. Being nonchalant about it, apathetic to it, will have more impact.
100% agree. Now, I would have never said this 3 years ago.
Me neither.
At this stage now, I 100% agree.
I totally agree. I wouldn't have said it 3 years either. 3 years ago, I thought I was fighting the good fight. No. There's no need to fight for sea level. You know what I mean?
Glovers are more of a symptom from some sort of sickness that was put there because somebody invented the globe. Somebody invented the ideas that make up our idea of the globe. You know, so it's not even them that we have to worry about, because everything that they have, the Glovers themselves have, will fail at the first two things. You know, gas fills space, levels flat.
Yep. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hopefully joining as a Patreon and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.